you ever heard of a diplomatic incident that started with a simple misunderstanding about a hat? Let me take you back to the 19th century, where a fashion faux pas sparked an international crisis. In 1856, tensions were brewing between Britain and the United States. The backdrop? The Crimean War, where Britain was fighting against Russia. But what does that have to do with hats? Well, it all started with a man named Charles Francis Adams, the U.S. ambassador to the UK. Adams was a dignified politician, but he had a peculiar habit of wearing a top hat. One day, during a diplomatic meeting, he accidentally knocked his hat off while greeting the British Foreign Secretary, Lord Palmerston. The British saw this as a sign of disrespect, while Adams was mortified. Now, you might think it's just a hat, but in the world of diplomacy, symbols matter. The British were furious, interpreting the incident as a slight against their nation's decorum and the gravity of the discussions at hand. The media caught wind of the story, and suddenly it was front-page news. As tensions escalated, the two nations were on the brink of conflict. Adams, aware of the potential fallout, quickly sought to mend the situation. He sent a letter to Palmerston, apologizing profusely for the accidental hat mishap. This led to a surprising twist. Lord Palmerston, recognizing the absurdity of the situation, decided to let it go. He responded with a lighthearted note, and the crisis was averted. Can you imagine? A war almost sparked by a hat. The significance of this incident goes beyond just headwear. It highlights how small gestures and misunderstandings can escalate into major diplomatic crises. In a world where communication is key, the way we present ourselves matters. So the next time you put on your favorite hat, remember that it might just carry the weight of international relations. What's the weirdest diplomatic incident you've ever heard of? Now, let's delve deeper into the context of the 1850s and why this seemingly trivial incident had the potential to escalate into something more serious. The Crimean War was not just a local conflict. It involved multiple nations and was a struggle for power and influence in Europe. The British were keenly aware of their image and reputation on the world stage, and any perceived slight could have dire consequences. Charles Francis Adams, the son of the second U.S. President John Quincy Adams, was not just an ambassador. He was a key figure in maintaining U.S.-British relations during a critical time. His role was to navigate a complex political landscape where any misstep could lead to a breakdown of communication between two powerful nations. The top hat had its own social significance at the time. It was a symbol of the upper class and was associated with respectability and authority. By dropping his hat, Adams inadvertently broke an unspoken rule of decorum that governed elite society. The British, who prided themselves on their traditions and manners, interpreted this lapse as a serious breach of etiquette. Furthermore, the media of the day played a crucial role in shaping public perception. Newspapers were quick to sensationalize events, and stories of diplomatic faux pas could easily spiral out of control. Editorials and opinion pieces would fuel public outrage and could influence political leaders to take a harder stance against perceived insults. In this case, Adams's hat mishap became a symbol of the fragile nature of international relations. It served as a reminder that even the smallest actions can have far-reaching implications. In the grand tapestry of diplomacy, where every word and gesture is scrutinized, misunderstandings can lead to serious consequences. Imagine the conversations that ensued in the halls of power. Advisors and diplomats would have weighed the implications of the hat incident, discussing the potential fallout and how best to respond. The stakes were high, and the atmosphere was charged with anxiety. But the resolution of this incident also underscores the importance of humor and humanity in diplomacy. Lord Palmerston's lighthearted response not only diffused the tension, but also illustrated that sometimes, amidst serious discussions, laughter and goodwill can prevail. It was a reminder that leaders are, after all, human beings who can appreciate the absurdity of life. This incident is not an isolated case in the annals of diplomatic history. There have been numerous examples where misunderstandings have led to serious international incidents. For instance, there's the famous Dartmouth College case in the United States, where a miscommunication about a charter led to a Supreme Court case that defined the limits of state and federal power. or the time when a simple mispronunciation led to a diplomatic rift between two countries. Each of these incidents serves as a reminder of the delicate dance of diplomacy, where words and symbols carry immense weight. They show us that in the realm of international relations, we must be ever vigilant and aware of the nuances that can arise from our interactions. So, as you reflect on the tale of Adams and his hat, consider the broader implications of our everyday actions. Every interaction we have, whether at work, in our communities, or on a global scale, has the potential to impact our relationships in significant ways. The world is interconnected, and in this age of instant communication, the stakes have never been higher. A tweet, a post, or even a casual remark can set off a chain reaction that leads to misunderstandings and conflicts. In conclusion, the story of the hat that almost sparked a war reminds us to approach our interactions with care, thoughtfulness, and a sense of humor. After all, we are all part of a larger tapestry of human relationships, and sometimes it's the little things that can make the biggest difference. So the next time you put on your favorite hat, think of the weight it carries and the connections it represents. What's the weirdest diplomatic incident you've ever heard of?